And thank you, Kelly, for coming.
Yes.
Dr. Hare.
Glad to be here, Jeff. You can call me Kelly.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you for giving me permission. How long you been with the Boone Center?
I have been with the Boone Center just about 3 years.
And still having fun?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
And if somebody said, what is your role? What is it?
I direct the Relationship IQ program, and Relationship IQ is a program that helps young adults strengthen healthy relationships. And the curriculum comes from a theologically sound and psychologically sound perspective.
Cool. Well, tell me what, with the research and the work that you do in working with teens in relationship, where are we at in this crazy time?
Yeah, good question. So we are at a time where so much of our relationships are being mediated by technology.
Yes.
Case in point right now today.
Right, exactly.
Of course. So today we're going to talk about the role of social media, and particularly in young adults' lives.
Does social media impact teens very much?
Well, actually, significantly, of course.
Sorry, just throwing you a dumb softball.
Yes.
I can't help it. Okay.
In fact, and I find this very interesting. Jean Twenge, she's a researcher. She published a book, iGen, where she recognizes that year 2012 was when levels of anxiety, depression, suicidality, loneliness in youth really skyrocketed significantly. Well, come to find out, 2012 is the year when the majority of people started having smartphones in particular.
Yep.
Now, you gotta, oh no.
It just got exciting.
Yes, it did. I was afraid that was going to be me at some point.
Okay. That's okay. Kelly, let me let you go ahead while we handle this.
Okay. All right. Glad everybody's okay and nobody's on the floor. Exactly.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes. So
go ahead.
2012 is when there were greater rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness for young adults.
Yep.
And that was also the year the smartphone became very popular, very common. So what are young adults doing on the smartphone? They're not checking the weather all day. They're not on dictionary.com learning about vocabulary. They're on social media, of course. So there can be a case made that social media has contributed to higher rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and suicidality for youth. So this makes it critical that we really help young adults empower their use of social media in ways that's actually going to help their relationships, help their mental and emotional health, instead of detracting from it. So are you back and adjusted?
I am
okay.
Yeah, let's come back here. I am fine. When we were on your camera, this chair here just went back into the ocean. So I've kind of gotten cleaned up.
Which can happen at the beach, in the sand. Sand is unstable.
Sand is very, very unstable.
It's more a real set than we all realize.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about redeeming social media as far as in your relationship material. Go for it.
Absolutely. Okay. So if we're going to help empower young adults to make good choices with social media, to help their relationships, young adults need to have a clear vision for what makes a healthy relationship. So I like to start the conversation with youth here and saying what makes a healthy relationship. And I think there's 3 different principles that can be very helpful in helping students assess the impact of social media on their relationships. The first one is to say healthy relationships involve intimacy. So often young adults will think about physical, sexual intimacy first.
I just did. I'll confess that. Sorry about that.
But intimacy is much broader than that. Yeah. We can think of it as knowing a person, their inside, their internal world, what their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values are, and their external world in terms of what are their actions, how do they appear. And healthy intimacy is built on knowing a person and accepting the person, caring well for them, and especially, again, knowing about their internal world, their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, ideas, and values.
So you're really digging back way behind how you handle Twitter and how you handle this before you even get there, helping these students to get rooted again in intimacy. And then your next one is, did I see attachment on there?
Yes, attachment. So
tell me about that.
Healthy relationships are also founded on a secure attachment. We could go into lots of science on that, but in brief, a secure attachment is characterized, attachment in terms of relationship, how someone connects with another person, is characterized by being available.
Okay.
You can reach that person, you get in connection with them.
You can't be attached if I can't get a hold of you.
Right. Being responsive.
Okay.
Responding back if somebody offers communication.
Right. Not ghosting, as the kids say. Mm-hmm.
Very well said. Yes. And being engaged, initiating in the relationship.
Okay.
So availability, responsiveness, and being engaged.
Okay.
And also secure relationships are characterized by a sense of playfulness. When we feel safe with a person, we play.
I love that.
When a new pet feels safe in the home, they come out from under the bed.
Okay.
And they play.
Okay.
It's characterized by love, acceptance, curiosity. When we are in a healthy relationship, we are interested to know the person more.
Yeah.
Empathy and truth, that we're willing to say what we believe, even if it challenges another person.
Okay.
That the relationship is safe enough for challenge to take place. So playfulness, love, acceptance, curiosity, empathy, and truth.
Wow, that's a lot. By the way, we're gonna send you this PowerPoint if you'd like it afterwards, because she's gonna go through a lot of cool stuff here. So those are those principles. So tell me how then you move from there to this notion of redeeming social media.
Right. Well, there's one other point.
Oh, sorry.
For healthy relationships to consider first, and that's interdependence. So an interdependence as opposed to codependency, where someone is over relying on someone else to do things for themselves that they could do for themselves.
Yeah.
So healthy dependence, healthy independence.
Okay.
Interdependence. All right. So that's our framework here.
Gotcha.
And then moving into the realm of social media, Sherry Turkle coined a term called alone together. And she uses this phrase, alone together, to capture the sentiment of what tends to happen when young adults get together.
Oh, I think I see this coming.
Yes.
Screens everywhere.
Right. Screens everywhere. Young adults are hanging out in someone's living room or elsewhere, and everybody's on their phone on social media. So what's happening for intimacy in these friendships? It's a very low level of intimacy. People aren't getting to know each other. They're not asking each other questions. It's a very external, social media offers a very external world intimacy. We see images of a person and maybe some video actions of what's gone on in a person's life. So the alone together dynamic really stunts intimacy in relationships and leaves people feeling very lonely. Relationships become very unsatisfying. Yeah. They're very just empty and surfacey. So when young adults are together, they often end up alone together. And then on the other hand, when young adults are alone, maybe alone in their bedroom, they're together with their friends through their phone.
So is it a skill they're trying to learn of, and I don't know if it's as simple as, what's the Chick-fil-A thing, the chicken coop, where you go into Chick-fil-A and they say, if you put all your phones in this box, we'll give you a free. Oh, have you not had this?
And I love Chick-fil-A.
Oh my goodness.
Love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So I am.
They do this thing where they put a box on the table. I
haven't called it the chicken coop.
Yeah, and there's a little box, and then you put your cell phones in it, and if you leave them there during your meal, you get a free ice cream.
No, that's just for Jeff.
Yeah, they're not. That's
great.
That's listen,
great.
I'm telling you, that's true. But I'm saying, what is it that you would say? Here's how to help a teen understand this alone together thing.
Right. So let me offer this. I think this is a helpful piece of what's happening. And Jared alluded to this earlier. The lines of relationship are very much blurred. It's blurred when I'm actually alone. It's blurred when I'm together with people. Yeah. And I think it's helpful for young adults to have this language. This is a conversation to have, to recognize this is what's going on when you're with your friends. That type of interaction when you're all really preoccupied on your phones isn't particularly satisfying. So you could say, go to Chick-fil-A, put your phone in the chicken coop, get ice cream later, and reflect on what that dining experience was like. As opposed if you went to another restaurant, which other restaurants are kind of dead to me, other than Chick-fil-A when it comes to fast food, so I can't even think of another one. No, I'm kidding.
But a place where I look across the restaurant and I see three teens and they're all on their phones and mom and dad are kind of staring at one another, and then they pick up their phones.
And say, what was that like?
Yes.
Right. So I think giving young adults experiences to reflect on is really helpful versus saying, don't use your phone at a meal. Hey, let's try this. And then let's talk about what it was like later and have the contrast. Then the next, maybe start with a meal where things are normal and people are out on their phone and all of this. So giving young adults, again, kind of language to understand this dynamic of blurred lines.
All right.
Also, another key principle, I think, in having this conversation with young adults is being able to highlight what is really good about social media. And not just focus on the ill effects. So what is really good? In terms of attachment, people are available to each other. Young adults can get in touch with each other easily. That's particularly awesome at a time like right now. It's really useful that we can be available to each other through Zoom, social media, all of these outlets. And that's a good foundation for a healthy relationship, to be accessible.
Absolutely.
So you want to camp out on really positive things too, give more space.
So give them the experience that they can experience that appropriate social media distancing. And then this concept of not teaching at them, but with them, or reflecting,
giving experiences to then reflect on together and say, hey, what was this like? All right, let's move in towards talking about friendships,
please,
in particular. So social media, again, as we mentioned, very image conscious. Young adults are seeing images that each other are putting forward, and to reflect on with young adults, what are people trying to accomplish through these images? How are they trying to portray their lives? I think what you'll find is people want to appear fun. That their life is fun, that they're happy, that their life is perfect. And to say, okay, why would people want to present themselves this way? What's this about? Again, this is all conversation. And you'll get a variety of answers. And I think this is a fun place to link it back to the Bible to say, you know what? Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, they had this experience of shame, of feeling like something is wrong with me and I need to cover up. I need to present myself before God cleaned up and better. And so what are we doing on social media?
And it all had to do with Apple as well. So there's that.
There you go.
There's
Exactly. So we're covering ourselves on social media. We're trying to perfect ourselves. And I think another aspect of trying to present ourselves well is we long for things to be perfect. We long for the Garden of Eden before the fall.
And we want to look as good as that other person's Instagram posts. I mean, they're always so beautiful and so filtered and so whatever. But how do you talk a teen out of that? I know you can't. How do you talk an adult out of that, for that matter?
I think it's reflecting on, okay, how are healthy relationships built? Intimacy. What does intimacy require? Actually knowing a person. So how can you present yourself in a way that's more authentic and true to the reality of your life? Maybe it's not doing Photoshop on your photo to make yourself look perfect, to put it on there. Maybe it's not overly staging the photo and just taking one shot and that being okay. So kind of relaxing around the images that are posted online and saying like, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be perfect. And again, and then conversation. What is that like?
Being
to
less
post an image
about it.
That doesn't, that you would have otherwise edited or filtered in
or
some
said,
way.
I ain't putting that up.
Right.
You know, I got to jump in. There was a children's minister I talked to last week who did something for her group, and she invited them all to do Crazy Hair Day. And this is with little kids. And they would, kind of do their hair whatever way, take a goofy picture of yourself, send it to me, and then I'll put it up on our Facebook page at the church. And it's interesting to think about how that might help those kids to get over the sense of, I've got to always be, coiffed and perfect, which is what is driving such anxiety amongst our teens. At least that's what I'm hearing from researchers like you.
Okay. So I've got to say, that's really funny that you mentioned this hair picture thing, because for me, when my hair is drying, I put it on the top of my head, and that I have a good, safe connection with you if I allow you to see me with my hair on the top of my head. If I'm willing to open the door. Is this a
PowerPoint slide we're about to see?
This is not a PowerPoint slide.
Oh,
this is bonus extra.
You gotta live it. Oh, it's a bonus. It's a bonus track. Okay.
Yes, but it's a real thing. It's like, if I feel open and comfortable with you, you will see me with the hair on the top of my head. Okay. Otherwise, my hair will come down and it will look much nicer.
Wow. And if you see me in a ball cap, you know we're friends. Let me tell you, you know we're friends.
Great. Very good.
All right. Keep
Okay.
going.
So other ways to help with friendships, encouraging young adults to see posts on social media as the springboard to more conversations and not the end in and of itself. So what can happen is you can have a group of young adults. Let's say somebody goes to Disney World and they post pictures, and somebody else sees those pictures and they think, great, I know what you did this weekend. I don't need to have a conversation about it.
Okay.
Versus saying, oh, you went to Disney World. How can I bring my curiosity to what I know about, okay, you went to Disney World, and now can I ask you about it? Who did you go with? What ride was the most fun for you?
Right.
Did the day go as you hoped it would go? Were there disappointments to the day?
Wow.
Like, you can really open the conversation, transitioning from the external world that's offered on the image to the internal world. What were you thinking, feeling during that day?
Which is such a great way to move it away from the competition. Oh, you went to Disney World. Here, I went to Universal. I, rode the Harry Potter ride, which sadly is such a natural response. I love that. Curiosity. That's a sweet word to hook students into. You've got three things there that I think are so good. I'm going to ask you just to ping them real quick. Curiosity to move from the external world to the internal
world.
You've described that beautifully. What's the truthfulness test?
Truthfulness test is to say, hey, before I post an image on social media, is this a fair representation? And particularly what comment I post. So I can give you for instance. There's a young adult I've worked with in college, and she said, Kelly, I went to my formal for my sorority, and I posted a picture, and it said, we left it all out on the dance floor. And it's this fun image. And she said, the reality was I went home crying from the event because I had a really difficult fight with a friend there. And to say, okay, maybe it's better not to insinuate that you had this amazing, perfect experience when that really didn't capture. So maybe you wouldn't put that comment because that really didn't characterize how you left that evening.
But man, I can relate to that person who doesn't, what's the old phrase? Never let them see you sweat, right?
Right.
I don't want that side of me out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you with the hair, me with the ball cap. It's that issue of, do I trust my relationship with God and my identity in Christ enough, right?
Right.
Because that's a deep elevator drop there.
Because think about this, when the young adults are living, and all of us, in this world of image consciousness, what does that do? That breeds anxiety. I've got to appear perfect. I've got to be covering myself in some way, shape, or form all the time.
Right.
That's exhausting. Fear-based. Okay, and let's see the third one on there, the relational fitness challenge.
Okay.
This is where you can invite your students to take a baseline of how much time they're using social media.
Okay.
Many phones and apps can assist students in finding out, how many hours they're spending a week.
Right.
And say, okay, so everybody's going to be at a different starting point. And you have the young adults identify, this is how long I've been on social media. And you say, okay, in the next week, can you cut that time in half? And then have reflection on that. Was that easier than you thought? Harder than you thought? How did you fill your time? Otherwise, what happened?
Yeah.
Some students may recognize, wow, I'm really, addicted to this. I'm really drawn to this. It was really hard, or actually that felt great to have a breather. I wouldn't have expected it.
So that challenge, wow. How long is that challenge for? Did I hear you say a day?
A week. I mean, and you can adapt the time to, what's fitting for your group and setting.
And a week of?
Cut the time in half.
Okay. All right.
So you're not going cold turkey.
I thought I heard a fast and I was thinking, wow.
Cut it in half.
Okay.
Cut it in half.
Okay.
And you could also add to the challenge, for them to identify, okay, how much time do you spend on the phone talking a week?
As opposed
and then
to
try to double that to have richer conversations.
Okay.
Instead, and again, spending time reflecting.
Okay. How much time do you spend and to double that time because you see that as more authentic?
Right. There's much more relationship happening in that type of dialogue.
Absolutely.
Than just on social media.
Man, good
yeah.
stuff.
And as Jared mentioned earlier, young adults struggle to pick up the phone sometimes. So this is a real challenge.
Yes, it is.
Which I reflect on that. And I think when I was growing up, we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
And my sister and I would race to see who could answer the phone. Who
and
could get there first.
You, that's a cool thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And now it's like, somebody's calling. Ugh,
Yeah.
very different. Very different.
Interesting world. Well, when I was pitching this, I said that you were going to come and show us how to baptize Instagram, baptize Twitter. Any other thoughts on how to use social media in a way that is God honoring and Christ honoring?
Absolutely. So let's move forward. Let's jump to, well, how are we on time? Do we have time to keep
You know what? It depends on the questions. As we said before, if you've got questions, you can stick them in the chat room. But we're just going to roll forward until you guys wave at us and say, "Hey, we got a key question."
Great,
here.
Great.
And we'll go another 5 minutes or so.
Then let's talk about romantic relationships. Young adults are often, using social media with romantic relationships.
Yeah.
They expect to be having lots of digital contact with each other, given that we have the ability, the capability to do so.
And sometimes inappropriate contact. Yeah.
Right. So cyber sexting and texting. Wait, sexting, cyber sex. There we go. Get those words.
Wow. How many times can we say sex in this one broadcast?
Right,
okay, go ahead.
Right. Young adults will often want to experiment with this, and the youth leader's reaction is just to be like, no, don't do that. So how can we have a conversation with young adults about how sexting and cyber sex would impact the relationship? So to recognize that sexting and cyber sex represents a very, very high level of intimacy, and the relationship doesn't have a very high level of commitment. It doesn't have the commitment of marriage, presumably for young adults or youth. And to say, okay, so what happens in a relationship if you get intimacy at a much higher level than commitment? What happens? Anxiety. You become in an insecure, attached place because you're wondering, how is this person who I'm not fully committed to going to handle what I've given them, literally in digital pictures?
Whom I've totally, opened myself to, exposed myself to.
Right. What are they going to do with these images if the relationship ends? That's a really anxiety-driven space to be in. So having a conversation about how it impacts the relationship and inviting them to think it through.
Because once again, it's not, I think it is in part saying, that's dumb, don't do that. But I recognize just saying that to a student. Do you share stories of how, or what you're doing is leading them down the thought road?
And you might ask, how have you seen this impact other friends' relationships?
All right.
What could you imagine might happen here? Images are permanent, all of these things, living with the anxiety of them out there.
Okay, so your next one I see is developing the relationship offline. Are we heading in the right direction?
Right, let's do that. So sometimes young adults will really focus on building a relationship solely online, even when the person lives a couple miles away. So to encourage young adults to increase their ability to connect with each other face-to-face, not during these times right now.
Right.
Of course, relationship is mediated online, but when the opportunity presents itself to go offline can be really helpful.
And again, thoughts about this particular time, Kelly, it sounds like would be voice to voice is better.
Right. Voice to voice. And also recognizing that, this time will be over, and it's probably better to wait to really increase depth of relationship until face-to-face can happen at the same time. So that a couple doesn't have the experience of, oh my gosh, we shared all this stuff, on the phone or through text. And then now all of a sudden I see you in face to face and things are out of balance, out of whack. So this could be a time more for relationship maintenance than relationship progression.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's a gentle warning in whatever way we need to give to our teens who could become, as they're cooped up, more and more willing and open to being risky, sending inappropriate pictures, maybe being more revealing in those long late night conversations.
Right. Right. Incremental intimacy is what we want here, going slowly, and particularly during this time when it's not accompanied by face-to-face.
Incremental intimacy. We need that sewn up on a, what do they call that? The things they used to sew up and go up on the wall.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, old school, and we both forgot the word. Anyway, we need to put it on a poster.
Somebody knows out there.
We need to put it on a poster and send it out to all the teens during this time period. Yeah. All right, and finally, about communication technologies.
Yes. Okay. using digital means to foster availability, responsiveness, engagement, playfulness, love, acceptance, curiosity, empathy, and truth that we talked about at the beginning, secure attachment.
Yes.
Online means is a great place to practice being responsive, to practice being engaged and initiating, to be available, to be playful. All of these healthy traits of a relationship can be practiced online, and particularly online dating for young adults to watch as they build a relationship, you know, in the early stages online through an online dating platform. Is this person I'm connecting with, are they available, responsive, and engaged to me? Or is this becoming a one-way street where I'm the one who's always reaching out? I'm the one who's always responsive.
Yes.
That type of thing. So.
Wow. Well, you've given us a bunch of good stuff, Kelly, and it makes me want to do two things. One, where can people get more information on some of these things? Where might they turn? Does the Boone Center or you have some information that might be helpful to them? Yeah,
great question. So there's an entire curriculum, Relationship IQ. We cover several topics in addition to technology and relationships.
Cool.
This newest module is what we call the next chapter of Relationship IQ is on technology and relationships, and will be out in May on the Boone Center for the Family website. It'll be a 6-week small group curriculum.
Super.
To go through some of the things we've talked about here and much, much more. It will be $30 out in May sometime.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. In fact, you did that chapter of the book you did was on singleness. The ebook.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that in a Zoom teaching session we had the other day. I'd love to send the link to that to these guys as well, because
Absolutely.
I know some of them work not only with teens, but also with singles, and certainly all of us have singles in our life. Mm-hmm. If there were no specific questions, can I say you gave us a ton of stuff there, and we're going to send them this PowerPoint. I may try and arm wrestle you to do a longer piece that we can post online or something. But
sure, there's much more.
I know there is, because I've heard some of your presentations. So it worked with Jared. So while we're online in front of all these people, would you be willing to do that?
Yes, you can have my email address.
Dr. Hare? Yes. Okay. We'll get her email address on there. And seeing as we're trying to take time, we're going to give you guys 30 seconds. We're going to give you 30 seconds to think about the things that you've heard and to make a note or two about what you might want to take away from the things you've heard. I encourage you at least to write down one big thing. I need to think about this when it comes to redeeming social media with my teens. Start your 30 seconds right now.